All right, everybody ready? Yes. All right, welcome to week 7 of the Capacity Project. I'm gonna pray real quick and then we're gonna fly through some amazing stuff. Father, thank you so much for this incredible group of human beings, these divine sons of God. We ask right now that you just open kingdom wisdom for us to be able to implement and win creation. This is an open heaven. We have revelatory angels. We have John's angels hanging out in this place. And more. In Jesus' name, everybody said, Amen. Amen. All right, so the title today is, Jen, did I send you a title? Okay, it's called Data and Pivots. Okay, data and pivots. We're talking about systems. First thing that I want to tell you is every system is perfectly designed. Every system is perfectly designed. For what, you may ask? The result that you're getting right now. Every system is perfectly designed to get the result that you're getting right now. Yes, we mention something frequently called the delusion of reprieve. The delusion of reprieve means that you are willing to sit in a system that will never produce the fruit that you're after and hope for the best. Yep, and hope for the best. You guys know who Socrates and Plato and Aristotle were, right? Do you know what they did for a living? They thought about thinking. Yep, they thought about thinking and they questioned the things that you take for granted. And we should be very privileged that they thought about thinking for us, because it's not as common as you might think to think about thinking. And to think about thinking means that you have to ask questions of reality and realize that whatever is. You all right with that? That's Aristotle. Whatever is. That means that every system is perfectly designed. So we cannot be overly Pentecostal or overly charismatic and say, listen, that we're maximizing our capacity, but we don't have a system to test it. Right? You are not permitted to say you're low capacity when you're actually lazy and unplanned. Yeah, I'm just a low capacity person. You will never know. You'll literally never know unless you've tested it. My grandfather used to work for General Motors, and every time that we'd buy a new Chevy, guess what he made us do with it? Test it. Yeah, because he'd be going up and down his street and say, if it's gonna break, it's gonna break under warranty. Yeah. So you don't know. You don't know if you haven't tested it. So are you a world leader? Have you ever done what world leaders do? Then you probably don't know. Are you athletic? You probably don't know, right? You've called your lack of participation capacity when it is absolutely untrue. Each person is delivered a different capacity. You're the only one that knows if you're being faithful with it. So if you have not implemented a system that maximizes capacity, you won't know what your capacity is. You haven't tested it. You haven't gone to see if it'll break. I know that I'm not a runner. Do you know why I know that I'm not a runner? I tried, man. I tried in open gyms. I tried in 5Ks. I tried in the most elite shape of my life. My trainer made me do 10 60-yard sprints 5 nights a week getting ready for nationals. Guess what I was awful at? For 20 weeks straight with no improvement. Sprints. I'm not a runner. I can safely say I'm not a runner. You might not be able to. Jason Barlow's a runner, right? Jen Porter's a runner. All right. Most people never reach their vision because they've never implemented an ecosystem that'll actually make it come about. Most, and I believe this might be theologically produced, but some humans never accomplish their vision because they're vision obsessed and system ignorant. Right? They're vision obsessed and systems ignorant. How many churches have their vision statement on their website? Oh, all of them. How many of them have their strategy on their website? None of them. How many have probably sat down to check it out? Probably none of them, right? So the master was leaving and he divided to his servants his talents, right? To one 5, to one 2, to one 1. The one that received 5 talents was responsible for 5 more. The one that received 2 was responsible for 2, right? And the one that received 1 was responsible for All right, the 5 was not responsible for 2. 2 is not responsible for 5. 2 producing 2 is success. 5 producing 2 is failure. Right? So it's not equality. Everyone was delivered a different capacity, but each one's responsible for their capacity. Within that capacity is commitment. In that commitment, you need to have heart tests. Contrary to popular belief, you do not evaluate where your treasure is to see where your heart is. That's backwards. Although diagnostically that's correct, but the Bible does not say that. It says wherever your treasure is, there your heart will be also. That means if you have a heart for something, you need to move your treasure. Get it? If you have a heart for something, you need to move your treasure. I want to be in shape. Move your treasure. I want the church to succeed. Move your treasure. I want to be infinitely successful as an entrepreneur. Move your treasure, your time, talent, and finances need to move towards that you wish was succeeding. Because the system is perfectly designed to give you the result that you're getting right now. Yeah, perfectly designed. I've been in bad systems. I've been in good systems. And to quote Coach A.J. Sims, the way that you do one thing is the way that you do everything. Yeah. So do you know what happens when you develop one system? You get addicted to systems. Yeah, you should see my house. Not to take time away from you, but I put together a sacred biology system. I know my supplements, I know my food, I know my training, I know my cold plunging, I know my breathing, I know all of that stuff. If you have a system, then data is easy to gather, right? When data is easy to gather, decisions are easy to make. Right? I told you about a time when I gained 18 pounds without changing a single thing. 18 pounds. Bad pounds, not good pounds, like the kind that make you wear the pants you don't want to wear anymore. Yeah, no nutrition change, no training change, stress change. Yep, but if there was no system that was getting me to my goal, the data means nothing. If you don't have a system, data is emotional. Oh, come on. If you don't have a system, data is emotional, right? If you have no idea what you're doing to preserve your sacred biology and you step on the scale and it goes up, what do? Cry. You don't know how you got there, so you don't know how to fix it, right? Being a responsible steward of systems means I need 50 less calories a day. I need to do one more high-intensity interval training session, right? When revenue goes down in your business and you're, how do I say this the right? And you're delusional enough to think, oh, it'll change. Probably won't. Because the system you're living in is perfectly designed to get you the results that you have, right? No system, data becomes painful and emotional. If you have a system, data becomes strategic in a way that you can pivot, right? So have a system. I'm obsessed with systems. I'm probably too obsessed with systems. Because once you find out that one system works, I'm like, hey, I need a system for my EDCs. I do. So I cleared out a top drawer and I'm like, here's my knives, here's my guns, here's my coins, here's my knuckles, here's my lighters, here's my watches. It's a system. Guess where they all go when I'm done? Right back where they came from. You know who's happy about that? My wife. My wife. She's like, Tommy, your gun's by your coffee pot again. Everything is wherever I took it off. There's no system, right? Okay, so most people blame outcomes. You can't blame outcomes. Outcomes are fruit. They're not causal. Outcomes are fruit. They're not causal. Rory Vaden says there's no such thing. Excuse me, let me say this better. He said, do not confuse outcomes with the process that it took you to get there. Right? Most of the time, because we're outcome focused, we get upset about outcomes and then we call the outcome either success or failure. It's not true. It's the result of it, or it's the recognition of it, right? Shanda's 6 classes away from her doctorate. When she gets her doctorate, that is not success. That is the recognition of 7 grueling years of commitment, time, and tenacity, right? So she's been successful for 7 years, 6 years, I forget what it is. 5 years, okay, doctorate in 5 years, all right. But because we're outcome focused, we never assess why we're in the predicament we're in. How many of you want to be like your Father in heaven? Okay, your Father in heaven declares the end from the beginning. Do you know why? Because he knows the system that it takes to get to the end. The end has to be written into the beginning. If God wants an entire creation populated with sons of God overseeing a visible creation that looks just like heaven, what do you think he's going to do? Strategize. He's going to make Eden as an outpost of heaven. He's going to create 2 co-regions in his image, and he's going to put everything in the system so it's self-sustaining. So if you let the system work, by the end, you'll have humans that look like Christ governing a planet that looks like heaven. Right? Systems. Every system's perfectly designed. Ready? Kingdom leaders examine systems. If your marriage is struggling, if your ministry is stagnant, if your health is declining, if your team is weak, the first question is never, what's wrong with these people? What's wrong with my marriage? What's wrong with my spouse? What's wrong with my body? You know what's wrong with your body, homie. Because I'm saying this as somebody that was 308 pounds a year ago. Yeah, my system was perfectly designed to make my blood pressure 185 over 135 and to be over 300 pounds. Yep, perfectly designed. How many of you ever prayed for a harvest while repeating the same habits that produced the famine? Oh, wow. How many of you ever prayed for a harvest while repeating the same habits that produced the famine? Matthew 7. You don't have to go here because I don't want to take a ton of the time on references. Matthew 7 says, every good tree bears good fruit. Bad trees bear bad fruit. Jesus doesn't start with fruit. Fruit is an indicator of the system, right? He starts with the tree. The fruit is evidence, not cause. What happens when outcomes become emotional? Can I draw something real quick? Okay, start with outcomes, right? Negative outcome produces negative emotion, right? Positive outcomes produce positive emotion. Good so far, right? Does this have to be true? Doesn't have to be true. What if we start with systems? If you start with systems and the outcome is negative, it produces a positive emotion because you know to pivot. Right? Now, this is a strange question, but how many of you have ever just known something was wrong? You just know something is wrong. You're experiencing an outcome, and no matter how hard you try, you need to know how it happened, right? Then you go to the doctor, and it's either stage 4 or you ate too much Mexican food, right? Right? But you don't know. You don't know because you're not keeping track of the system that got you there. So if it's an outcome, the outcome produces negative emotion, a negative outcome produces negative emotion, and then you're just a mess, and you're a powerless mess at that. But when you step on the scale, when I step on the scale and it's up 5 pounds, and I know that I'm stewarding my system well, it's positive because I'm like, ooh, I can make 2 changes and fix this right now. So good, man. Right? I can pivot and change this right now. I know I talk about health a lot. There's things that you just have to use as an illustration and recognize that it applies to everything, right? Is your marriage a mess? Shouldn't be a surprise to you, right? It might be out of your control because somebody else is involved, but it shouldn't be a surprise to you. Good? Everything happens for a reason. Sometimes the reason's you made a stupid decision. You might lie, your team might lie, your emotions do lie, your intentions may lie, but results don't. How about this one? Results are the autobiography of the system. Right? Results are the autobiography of the system. So I've got a few points that I'm going to try to finish up in 14 minutes. I would invite you to stop managing outcomes. You have to expect them, but they're not the point of management. Trying to manage outcomes usually produces a leader, follow me because this isn't supposed to sound as sinister as it sounds, who has to lie and manipulate. Right? 80% of those lies and manipulation are to themselves. Right? Why isn't it happening? I don't know, the Lord's grace just isn't on it. Probably not. That's probably not the answer is what I'm saying, right? It could be, it could be, but probably not. Stronger marriage, good outcome? Yeah. Deeper discipleship, good outcome? Absolutely. Bigger church? Absolutely. Healthier body? Great outcomes. You can't manage outcomes. Outcomes are unmanageable. The system produces the outcome, and it's perfectly designed to give you the outcome that you have right now. If you know this, it should change your management style a little bit, because you can look at someone's life and decide how they do everything. Right? If I gain 50 pounds, which I've done, if I don't have a system that caused it, I'm powerless to change it. I can't evaluate the outcome, hope for a different one. I need a system audit, right? The most frozen, stuck, non-productive people I know are frozen in this emotional circle. Right? No systems, just outcomes. Why am I like this? Why do I feel like this? Why is this happening? Why is nothing getting better? Why is all this? So outcomes produce negative emotion. Do you know what negative emotion produces? More negative emotion, which then produces nihilism, which then produces apathy. You can't get excited about a solution if you don't have a system. Right? God wired your brain to keep pace with an ever-increasing kingdom, and in an ever-increasing kingdom, it takes forward momentum to experience positive emotion. So if you haven't integrated, as a matter of fact, like I'm kind of afraid to use the terminology, if you haven't become obsessed with systems, let me give you better language, because I already know when people watch this, be like, what about the miraculous? The miraculous works through systems, Holmes. It does. It does. The miraculous works through systems. And systems are God's strategy to bring heaven to earth. It's always a structure. It's always authority and submission. It's always a causal, right? If you do this, then this will happen. That's how he does things. So if you're stuck, here, why am I this way? Why am I that way? Why are they this way? Why are they that way? Wow, okay, I thought I misspelled that. You will spiral into the very outcome that you're trying to avoid. Right? These people give up. Do you know why they give up? And this isn't an indictment. This is because they haven't realized the value of systems. If you don't understand systems, then you have no solutions. If you have no solutions, you have no hope. Right? It's self-fulfilling prophecy. That's a good word, yep. All right, Galatians 6:7. Don't have to go there. Whatever a man sows, that also he will reap. Right? Understand that that's New Testament. Paul said those things. That's 60-fold reality. He attached harvests to systems, not wishes. Right? Hope is not a strategy. Hope is not a strategy. Is that okay? I'm not trying to naturalize our existence. I'm trying to make us responsible for the creation that God put in our hands. Right? This is how you take responsibility for your metron. Delusion of reprieve is where you make hope a strategy. Hope drives strategy. It's not the strategy itself. People secretly believe if I wait long enough, what isn't working will somehow start working. Time does not heal broken systems. It reveals them. Kingdoms are built by repetition. Kingdoms are built by repetition. Is this all right? We got time? Okay. He who is faithful in what is least is faithful also in much. Let me use this term. You're judged by repetition. Leaders consistently do the exceptional. That's what makes them leaders, right? Leaders love, vision, conferences, prophecy, and ideas. Mature leaders love calendars, checklists, systems, and repeatable actions. Yeah. I lost 2 families in the church years ago. It was when we were still pretty scandalous. But I got on my high horse about conferences, which I love conferences. But I don't like becoming a conference crowd, right? Because conference crowds become glory addicts. Right. Yep. And they can't get high without the next one. Mm-hmm. Yep. But Acts 3 has to come after Acts 2. That's right. Acts 2 is beautiful, right? The Holy Spirit falls, everybody's speaking in tongues, fire sitting on people's heads. Then they have to have something to do every single day that causes the kingdom to multiply. And it's not fire and tongues. It's not fire and tongues. It's management. So anyway, I didn't tell you what I did to lose a couple families. I took my microphone and I went like this. And I went, can I get some more of that conference? Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Luke 16:10, he who is faithful. We're going forward, yep. He who is faithful in what is least is also faithful in much. Faithful is not intensity. Listen, this is good. Faithful is repetition. Excellence is not an event. Excellence is a system. Right? All right, so here's an audit. Everybody say systems audit. Okay, this is awesome. It's super implementable. Do you have something in your life within your control that you'd like to change? Yes, that's data. Just see it as data. Don't get emotional about it. Just see it as data. If you see it as data, you can produce solutions. That's right. If you have an outcome that's within your control, that is not the outcome that you would like, you can do a systems audit. And the data is itself the outcome. Okay, let's just settle this. Outcomes are data. They're not strategic, they're data. What am I producing? Why am I producing it? What system created it? What has to change? And what do I measure to know that it has? Is it good? What am I producing? Why am I producing it? What system created it? How do I change it? What do I measure to make sure that it's changed? That's a systems audit. Good so far? What am I producing? Why am I producing it? What systems created it? What has to change? And what gets measured to make sure that it has? Right? When I say this is transcendent. It doesn't matter what metron of your life you apply this to, it works. It works. Taking responsibility for this is maturity. I talked about this on a live stream this past week. We had a counselor friend, and she gave us the 3 milestones of masculine maturity. Did you know that like babies crawling and talking and grabbing, like those milestones in psychology don't stop until you're mature? And if you want to know whether or not a 25-year-old man has actually grown up or not, there's 3 milestones. One is personal responsibility. The second is internal motivation. The third is mutually beneficial relationships. So if you're around a 25-year-old that constantly deflects and constantly is friends with you because of what you can give them, they're a child. True. Right? They're a child. They're 25, but they're a child. The reason I bring this up is because it takes maturity to audit your outcome, take responsibility for the change, right? I used to be in the trucking business, and what I heard everywhere I went, you have to buy 1 truck, or 10, or 50. You can't buy 6, you can't buy 20, because the revenue doesn't change from 1 to 9 trucks. Breakthrough happens when the rules change, right? Now I got 10 trucks, revenue can change. Revenue doesn't change again until you hit 50, because then you're a different breed. So if you recognize, I'm just adding another truck, like, I haven't broken my rules yet. I haven't popped out of my system yet, then nothing's gonna change. I might be doing twice as much of the same thing that I did that got me here. It won't change a thing, right? The system has to explode. Same with parenting, same with marriage, same with ministry, same with business. Nehemiah chapter 2, you don't have to go here, Nehemiah's outcome is he wanted to rebuild the wall. And he didn't become hyper spiritual about it. Father, rebuild the wall, Father, rebuild the wall, Father, rebuild the wall. He went through a system. He inspected, he measured, he evaluated, he assigned it to people, and he started building. Right? Walls down, outcome audit. System audit, how do we rebuild these things? Because it's gonna take a strategy. Prayer reveals the vision, inspection reveals the strategy.
Right.
We good? Mm-hmm. Okay. I don't want to say I'm apologizing on behalf of the church, but usually when I find things culturally that are really costing us, usually it starts with theology. Like it might have made its way into secular thought, but it usually starts with theology. Last week we talked about nihilism and all of the theologies that produce apathy and nihilism and they cause you to not want to take your next breath. The church is a motivation machine, right? If you ask yourself, when you walked into a 60-fold church, what was the pastor trying to do? Motivate you, like you fill your gas tank for 6.5 more days, right? Then you come in like dragging on empty. I do not want anyone that's attached to Legacy's ministry to think that we are motivational people. We are infrastructure people. We are strategy people. We are building something that we can hand off to generations that keeps pace with an ever-increasing kingdom where we can evaluate data, see if it's working, and if it's not, we pivot. Yes. Right? Yes. You probably don't need another dream. You probably don't need another prophecy. You probably don't need more ideas. You probably just haven't built the machine. One of my mentors, one of our board members, Steve Witt, started telling me this 7 years ago. 7 years ago. And this is an indictment against me. He would say, Tommy, he'd say, you do not have a ministry problem, you have an administrative problem. And if you would fix it, there'd be 10,000 people here. He's not wrong. He's not wrong. Ask our staff what we spend all of our time doing now. Systematizing the love that we have to give the world. Good? All right. All right. You need a machine that produces peace, maturity, health, discipleship, and growth. It's 9:30. I got to quit. If you repeat your current strategy every day, every week, every month for the next 5 years, where will you be? Exactly the same place, right? I assure you we won't be. Amen. I assure you we will not be. Amen. So be it. When Thomas asked to see the Father, what did Jesus say? If you've seen me, you've seen him, right? An ever-increasing Father. You will have more money next year than you have right now. You will have better health than you have right now. You will have more sophisticated and enjoyable marriages than you have right now. You will walk in greater levels of revelation, intuition, and intellect than you're walking in right now. None of you are done. None of you are done. And there is a system that is heaven sent, God ordained, and Christ authored that will bring us into the ever increasing nature of our Father. Isn't that quite a dichotomy? There is no finish line. Because as soon as you've attained the likeness of the beloved Son, he gets better tomorrow. He gets better tomorrow. He's an ever increasing Father. Yeah, and you get to be better tomorrow too. I'm out of time. Love you all. All right.